Because of weather and cancellations and people's schedules, not everybody could come to the info session. So I'm going to go through with you all the info I went through with everybody else. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to teach you how to make a template for an APA paper. So you're going to open up Word, and you're going to go blank document and click Create. Okay, now, first things first, select all the text. Then you're going to make sure that everything is double spaced. Then you're going to make sure that everything is in Times New Roman, and it's 12-point font. Okay, now you're going to click Enter 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the 5th one, center the text, and you're going to type title and a colon. Press Enter. Subtitle, and then press Enter. Then you're going to type your name. So whatever your name is, mine's Emma Chapman. So I'm going to write that here. Then Enter again, Simon Fraser University. Enter again, and this is your student number. Okay, so whatever your student number is, 30127XXXX, and then press Enter twice, 1, 2. Okay, now here you're going to enter the course code. So all capitals, CRIM. So for this class, it would be 104, and then D10, whatever your tutorial number is. So you would fill in this number with whatever your tutorial number is. Okay, then enter again, and then you're going to write the prof for this course. So Dr. Barry Cartwright. Then enter again, and you're going to write my name. So T.A space Emma Chapman. And if you were using this template for a different course, you'd use whatever your TA name is here. And then you're going to press Enter twice again, 1, 2. Okay, and here you're going to write the date. The date that you would put in here is the date that the paper is due. So for this paper, it's March 14th, 2019. Okay, so you'd write that here. Now you're going to click Enter, and then click Command Enter on a Mac or Control Enter on a PC. This is going to enter a page break. So you're on a new page. Here, this is the first page of your actual paper. Okay, so at the top of this page, make sure the text is centered. You're going to type title, colon, subtitle. Okay, and press Enter. Make sure the text is flush left and indent it so that the top pointy triangle is at a half an inch indent. This means that for every paragraph that you type, your first sentence will be indented half a centimeter. Okay. All right. Now double click the header on this side. You're going to say in all caps your title keywords, and this is your running head. So in APA, you're required to have a running head. Select this, make sure it's in Times New Roman. Good, and then you're going to go to your header and footer settings, and you're going to select different first page. Okay, so that means that your header on your first page, on your title page, is going to be different than on every other page of your document. Here you're going to type running head and then your title keywords. Okay, and then press Tab twice, and then you're going to put a 1. So that's your page number for your title page. This varies. Some professors like you to have the first page number, the number 1, on the actual first page of your paper, but general APA, the standard is that you have the page number on the title page. Make sure this is in Times New Roman and it's a 12-point font because that's the standard for APA. Okay, now you're going to go to Insert, Page Number, Format Page Numbers, starting at 1. Okay, click OK, and that did nothing. Try again. Good. Okay, so you want top of page and you want alignment right. And you're going to click OK. All right, good. So that inserted page numbers here. So here on the page number thingy here, select it, and then you're going to make sure that it's Times New Roman. So change the font. And this will change the font so that you don't have to do this on every page. This will change it so that on every subsequent page, all of these will be in Times New Roman. Okay. All right, so now you have your header formatted properly. So let's say, for example, the title of your paper for this one would be, I don't know, Lawlessness and Normlessness, the power of enemy theory to explain crime in capitalist and non-capitalist countries, or whatever you want, I don't care. Okay, your running head here, you would pick keywords from your title. So it could be, let's say, your running head, you want it to be lawlessness and normlessness. Okay, so that would be your running head. And then on this page, you would just have the lawlessness and normlessness as you're running ahead. So again, you guys can pick whatever keywords you want from your title as you're running ahead. It just has to be consistent throughout your paper. I don't care what you choose. Okay, so then here, for the title subtitle, it would be this title that you picked. Okay, so I'm just going to select it so I don't have to copy it again. And just make sure it's formatted like this. Okay, so this is the first page of your paper. So you would actually start your introduction here. So introduction, paragraph 1. And then introduction, paragraph 2 if you have 2 paragraphs. Okay. Now, if you want to have headings in your paper, that's fine. You don't have to, but if you do, this is how you format them. Okay, so go to center, bold, and then whatever you want your first header to be, your first section. So let's say for this paper, you want it to be history of anatomy. Okay. Now let's say you wanted to break this down even further. Okay, so you want to have a subheading under this heading. Make sure the text is flush left, bold again, and then you're going to type, I don't know, Emil Durkheim. Okay, so for this paper, you have to trace it from Durkheim to Merton to Mesmer and Rosenfeld. So maybe you want to split it into sections. Okay, so under here, if this is your subtitle, you go enter, indent the text, and then you would start your paragraph on Durkheim. Paragraph 1, paragraph 2, okay, and so on and so forth. Now, let's say that you wanted to have subheadings under a subheading like this. So let's say for Robert Merton, you wanted to have even more subheadings. You wanted to organize it further. So a subheading under this subheading would look like this. You'd have, let's say, major tenets of his theory. So this is your third heading, okay, your subheading. Notice that the capitalization, only the first word is capitalized, the rest are lowercase, okay? And here you would type your paragraph. So your first sentence of your paragraph would go here. Then let's say you don't just have one paragraph on this, you have more than one. You would go paragraph 2 on major tenets, paragraph 3, and so on. And then if you wanted to have another heading like this, you just start it on the first paragraph of that section. So let's say you want to say legacy or whatever, okay? And then you'd have paragraph 1 on his legacy, paragraph 2, and so on and so forth, okay? Now, you don't have to have headings in your paper if you don't want to, but if you do, this is how you would format them. Okay, let's talk about references. Okay, so on this page, you're going to go enter, command enter on a Mac and control enter on a PC. And then you're going to center this and you're going to type references. This is where you're going to put all your reference list entries. Make sure the text is flush left, okay? And you're going to indent the bottom to half, okay, so where the 1 is, and then the top one goes flush to the left side, okay? Now, all of your citations should have this hanging indent. This means that everything will be double spaced, and the first line of every citation will be flush left, and every other line of your citation would be indented so you can see where one citation starts and another ends. All right, now let's go over how to cite a journal article. Now, the source that I like to use to tell me how to cite things is called OWL Purdue. So I'm going to show you guys this website now. OWL Purdue, Google it, APA, and click on the first link that comes up. Okay, now notice on this left side, you've got lots of options. So reference list, basic rules, authors, articles, books, whatever. So for this paper, you need to be able to cite an article in a journal from an online journal. You need to be able to cite a chapter in an edited book, which you would find here, instructions here. And you need to be able to cite lectures and tutorials, which I'm going to talk about in a sec. All right, so let's say electronic sources. Okay, so the hardest part about APA is figuring out what type of citation format you need to use. So what are you actually citing? Here, it's an article from an online periodical with a DOI assigned. Okay, so this is how you're going to format the citation for the article chain you have to read. So for the sake of argument, I'm just going to copy this and show you how to do it. I'm going to do an example with you guys. All right. So now I'm going to show you how to format this. Just a note, for citations like this, you would never want to actually have the hyperlink in it, so always undo the hyperlink when it does that. Okay, so for the sake of argument, I'm just going to open up the article you have to cite, and so you can see, I'll put it split screen. Oops. let's open that again. Split screen with this article. Okay, all right, so you're very lucky on this page is actually summarize all the citation information that you need. This is the title of the article. This is the author name. This is the name of the journal, volume number, issue number, the year it was published. You don't need to worry about the month, and the page range. Okay. Also on this page, it's got a DOI. All articles that have been published online will have a DOI number. This is a database number so that anybody who copies and Googles this number will get a direct link to this article. Okay. All right, so let's practice how to cite this. Okay. So first things first, author. So this is his author name. So you're going to type Chang, last name, comma, and then the first initial of his first name, which is Hong Ming. So H. Okay. And then you're going to put a period after that. He doesn't have a middle name, so you don't need to worry about this second one. Now bracket, and you're going to put the year that it was published, which is here, 2012. Okay. End bracket, period, space. Now you're going to type the title of the article. Now notice that this is in all caps. The capitalization for APA is different, so you're never, if it's capitalized this way, you're never going to use it. It's always standard in APA. So here we're going to type this as cheap capitalism, colon, a sociological study of food crime in China. Now notice the capitalization in the title here. In APA, only the first word of the title is capitalized. So here's the C in cheap. Any word after a colon is capitalized, and any proper noun. Okay, so China is a proper noun, so China gets capitalized. If you guys don't know what a proper noun is, then you can Google it. Okay, but this is how capitalization of books or journal articles or news articles or anything would work in APA. Okay, now period space, you're going to italicize and type the title of the journal. So the British Journal of Criminology. Notice that the capitalization of the journal is different. Here, every word is capitalized. Then italicize again, and you're going to write the volume number, which is this number here, so 52. Unitalicize, bracket, and you're going to put the issue number, 2, here. Okay? And then you're going to put the page range, which is here, so 254 to 273, and then the period. Okay? And now you want to put the DOI, because you got it from online. So then you would write this here. Notice this is how this is formatted here. So to copy this over, DOI, make sure the D is not capitalized. No space after the colon, and then you're going to copy this number. So 10.1093 / BJC / AZR078. Okay, and no period after the DOI. So this is a correct citation for this article that you have to cite for the paper. Okay, if you guys copy that, that's fine. That's perfectly correct. And this is how you would cite any type of journal article that you found online or you downloaded from the library. Okay, because it's all from an online source. Now, sometimes they won't have this summary information here. They'll just have the actual pages of the article itself. That's fine. All the information will be on the first page usually, or in the footers, and then the page numbers on the footers as well. So here, the title, his name, an abbreviated version of the journal. Remember, we always type the full title of the journal, not the abbreviation. The year it was published, the issue number, the volume number. Notice that the issue number is missing. So if you didn't have this info here, you wouldn't know the issue number. Issue numbers are really important if somebody wants to find this article. So you would have to Google the title of this article, and then it would pull up, here, I'll do it with you. So you would Google the title of this article, and it comes up on Google Scholar, so ResearchGate has it, and then it tells you this is the issue number here. Okay, so if it doesn't have it on a title page of an article, that's fine. You can always find it online. Okay, and then page range is here. And DOI is here. Sometimes they won't have the DOI listed, so same method, Google it, see what's on those websites that come up once you Google the article. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Okay, I'm not going to go through with you chapter articles, but I'll show you where to find instructions on a chapter in an edited book. So if you guys want to cite things from the course textbook, which you're supposed to because those are readings required for the topic of this paper, you're going to go to reference list books, and you're going to scroll down to the instructions for article or chapter in an edited book. So any chapter that you take, okay, it would be cited this way. So actually I lied. Let's do an example. I'm just going to make this up. I'm not actually taking this from the textbook. Okay, so let's say you wanted to cite the chapter in the textbook that talks about Merton. Okay, so you would say the author here is going to be Merton because he authored the chapter. So Merton, comma, R, space, and then in brackets. Now, year of publication is tricky. For Barry, he wants you to put the year that the original works was published. So Merton published his document in 1938. So you put 1938 / the year that the edited book was published. Okay. Now, in general APA requirements, you don't have to do it this way. You just put the date of the actual book, the edited book, not the original date of the works itself, because sometimes it won't tell you. That's fine. Okay, just put the year for the book. Okay, that's fine. Then you're going to type in the title of chapter. So this would be the title of Merton's work. So I don't know what it is. String theory. Okay. Same idea with the capitalization here as with here. First word is capitalized. Only proper nouns are capitalized. Okay, so you would capitalize this way. Then you're going to say in B. Cartwright. He's the editor. He edited that book. Just because it's one editor, you would exclude the and the BB editor. Okay, so there's only one editor, not two. And then in brackets, you're going to put ed. And then instead of eds, plural, you're going to just say ed dot end bracket, comma, italicize, title of the book, which is, I believe, Sociological Explanations of Crime and Deviance, a reader. Please check that title. I'm just making this up. And then you would put in brackets here the pages of the chapter. So pp dot and then the pages of the chapter. I don't know where this is from, so you guys can figure it out in the book. But let's say for the sake of argument, it's 341 to 370. Okay. Make sure that you have the pp here. For journal articles, you just put the numbers, but for books, you actually have to put the pp. Okay. And then you would say location. So the city was published in Boston, comma, and then the state, MA, colon, and then the name of the publisher. I don't know what the name of the publisher is for the textbook, but whatever it is, Springer, and then period. Okay. If it was a two-word Springer link or whatever, you would put the two words and make sure they're capitalized. Okay. And then a period follows. All of this information that you need about the textbook, where it was published, all this stuff, is in like the first or second page, the copyright page at the very beginning of the book. Okay, so just look for this info here. You'll have to read a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, every entry in your reference list has to be in alphabetical order. A common mistake that students make is they alphabetize the order of the authors in a single citation. That is wrong. You always enter in the authors in the original order that they were in on the title of the article, because that denotes prestige. So the first author is the person who had the most amount to do with the article, then the second author had the second most to do with the article, and so on and so forth. So never alphabetize the author's names. When I say alphabetize, I mean that every entry in this book, in this list, the first author of every citation needs to be in order. So here it's Cheng and Merton. And then let's say you had, I don't know, Mesner and Rosenfeld. And their chapter in the course book. Okay. Now MER, MES, which comes first? QRST, so R comes first. Okay. So Mesner and Rosenfeld's entry would actually go before Merton. Okay. Because it's MES and this is MER. I hope that makes sense to everybody. Okay, so alphabetize this way. If you want to be lazy and you don't want to manually order them, that's fine. Okay, you can actually select them all, and then you can use this toggle here and it'll alphabetize it by paragraph. Make sure you say ascending, and then this way. RS, so Mesner and Rosenfeld would actually come second. I was wrong, I apologize. Okay, so make sure every entry is in alphabetical order. All right, now in-text citations, some general stuff. Okay, every sentence you need to cite your sources if it's not an idea that you took. Okay, so let's say you want to say the sky is blue, Okay, if you're paraphrasing that from an article, you'd say the author. So let's say you took this from Chang, okay, this guy here. You're gonna go the author's last name, comma, the year it was published, so 2012, and then end bracket and the period. Notice the period of the sentence comes after the end bracket, okay, not before this citation here, okay? This is if you're paraphrasing. If you're using a direct quote, you would quote it this way. So the sky is blue, end your quotation, so end quotation mark, bracket, Chang, 2012, comma, little p, dot, and then the page number that you took that direct quote from, okay, so page 100 or whatever, okay? So that's the difference between a paraphrase and a direct quote, okay? You must have a page number for a direct quote. You do not have to have a page number for a paraphrase, okay? If you have more than one author, you'd say the sky is blue, Chang and McDonald, comma, the year, and then end bracket for a paraphrase. If you had 3 authors, you would do it this way. So bracket, Chang, comma, McDonald, comma, and Smith, comma, and then the year, 2012, for a paraphrase. If it was a direct quote, make sure you put the page number after the year, okay? Now, for 3 or more authors, it's very exhaustive and it wastes a lot of your word count to list the authors every time you cite them. So the rule is the first time you cite for 3 or more authors, so 3 authors, 4 authors, 5 authors, and so on, the first time you use the source in text, you would use all the authors, so you would list out all the authors. Every subsequent time, every other time except the first, you would cite it this way, Chang et al. Dot, comma, 2012 for a paraphrase, or for a direct quote, you go 2012, comma, p, page 102. So I hope that makes sense to all of you. If this is confusing, there are instructions on Al Purdue, and it does talk about in-text citations, I believe. Maybe it's in basic rules. Oh, in-text citations, the basics here. Okay, so all of this info is here. You guys can read through this if you're confused. Okay, cool. All right, let's talk about citations for lectures and tutorials. Okay, so generally in APA, if you are citing like your own personal lecture notes that are not directly from a slide, so you don't have access to the slides, you're just citing from your own lecture notes, you would cite that as a personal communication. So I think this is in other non-print sources. You would cite it as a personal communication, which is this one here, okay? So for personal communications, you don't have an entry in your reference list. Instead, you would cite it in text this way, okay, as a general rule. For the purposes of this class, you're going to cite lectures and tutorials the way that Barry has done it in his instructions. So I'm going to show you guys that just one second. So paper assignment. Okay, so if you guys look here, Barry actually has examples of citations. I want you guys to cite lectures exactly this way. Okay, so copy this format. For any lecture that you cite, you're going to cite it in this format. Okay. However, instead of saying for a tutorial, do not cite it this way. Okay. For tutorials, I want you to cite it like a lecture, except instead of saying lecture here, you're going to write tutorial. Okay, so cite lectures and tutorials like this. For a tutorial, you would change this to tutorial. Just follow this format. Okay, same idea as in your reference list. You would enter them in order. Now, it gets a little bit confusing because they're all in the same year. So you're going to organize them this way. So you would have Cartwright B, first lecture 2019A. So let's say this one was on January 10th. So you would have the January 10th lecture first. Then you would have Cartwright B 2019 B. Okay, maybe this is a tutorial, maybe it's a lecture. You would organize them by date, and then in order not to confuse the reader in text, you need to put these notations next to it so I know which one of these many citations of Dr. Cartwright you're referring to. Okay, so organize these ones by date and then denote it with a little A and so on. Okay, cool. Okay, so you guys have now made a template on how an APA paper should look like. So to save this as a template, you're going to go File, Save As, and you're going to save as template, macro-enabled template, or this one actually. Let's do that. And then let's say this is CRIM 104 APA paper, or whatever. You can name it whatever you want. And then you would save it as a template. Okay, so now, let's hope this worked. If you go new from template, it should come up as a one here. Okay, maybe that didn't work. I saved it to downloads, didn't I? Okay, so sorry, I said this wrong. Okay, so instead you're gonna go File, Save as Template, and then notice it's saving it in the Templates folder, and then you go CRIM 104 template. Okay, now it's actually saving it as a template, so you go Save. Then if you exit here, you go New from Template. Under your personal templates, it should have the CRIM 104 template that you've just made here. So you guys can actually use this template for any APA paper in the rest of your academic career. This is formatted towards according to the requirements for APA in the 6th edition. Okay. So let's quickly talk about what I'm actually requiring you and what I'm marking you on. Okay. All right, so according to the instructions for this paper, the topic is near the front, okay? So this is the topic of this paper. Okay, so in your paper, you have to do a bunch of things, okay? Okay, so first thing you need to do is trace the development of anime theory from Durkheim to Merton, okay? When you're doing this, you can identify and describe the main elements and or similarities that tie these readings together. Then you have to answer these two questions, okay? Does anime theory provide a good explanation for crime in capitalist countries like Merton and Mesner and Rosenfeld argue? Okay, so you talk about Merton and Mesner and Rosenfeld and answer this question. Then you would argue, does it provide a good explanation for crime in non-capitalist countries? And here you would talk about the Cheng article. Okay, now these are sub-questions for this one. So if you think it is a good explanation for crime, why? So this is referring to explain your answer here. And if you think it's not a good explanation for crime for either of these questions, then you would say why. Now, I don't care which way you argue. I don't care if you say it's a good explanation. I don't care if you say if it's a bad explanation. What I care about is how well you argue your answer. Okay, so in your introduction of your paper, you need to tell me what you're going to talk about. So for example, okay, in your introduction, you'd say something like, anime theory has been an important theory of crime since the late 19th century. Okay, so this is the 1800s. I always get confused. Okay, popular theorists include Durkheim, Merton, and Mesner and Rosenfeld. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you're going to tell me that you're talking about anime theory, and you're going to talk about how it came about. So you would introduce that. Okay, so tell me what you're going to talk about. You also need to tell me your answers to these two questions. So you need to say either anime theory provides a good or bad, don't care which one you argue, explanation for crime in capitalist countries because X, Y, Z. Okay, now here you would summarize your reasons why it's a good explanation. Okay, so an example that I used for the people who showed up today, I wrote a paper about partisanship, which is about belonging to a political party. So my answer to the question of whether or not partisanship was valuable was, despite seeming prima facie, that's Latin, it means on the face of it. Okay, so despite seeming prima facie divisive, partisanship is valuable because it provides a measure of unity and accountability. Okay, so notice this is me saying my answer to the question, and then this is me saying why this is my answer to the question in the most briefest and succinct way. Okay? Just an aside, if you ever use Latin in a paper, make sure you know how to use it, what it means, and any Latin phrase should always be italicized, except the et al. In a citation. Okay, so this is just an example. Okay, again, I don't care what you argue, that's fine. You also need to say your answer to this third part. Okay, so enemy theory provides a good or bad explanation for crime in non-capitalist countries because XYZ. Okay, this is your introduction. You're basically telling me what you're going to argue and what you're going to talk about. If you don't tell me your answers to these questions, I have no idea what you're going to go on and on about in your paper. Okay, so I highly recommend that in your paper you tell me what you're going to argue. Okay, now in the body of your paper, this is where you explain your reasons for your answers, I should say, because there are two questions. Okay, so this is where you would explain, using this example here, you'd say, you'd explain what unity means and how partisanship provides unity and accountability. Okay, so that's what the body of your paper is for, explaining your reasons for your answer in detail. Okay, you also in your body need to do this. Okay, you also need to trace the development of enemy theory. Some people have asked me, can you do this while you're answering these questions? Yes, you can. As long as you do all of these three things, I don't care in which order you do it. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what you argue, but you have to make sure that you've done all of these three things by the end of your paper. Okay, so that's what your body is for. And then your conclusion, you're basically going to summarize what you just told me. Okay, so summarize your arguments for your answers. And tell me what your answer is again. So you would say, in this paper, I argued that partisanship is valuable because it provides unity, which within partisan groups, like the liberals or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you would summarize what your arguments were that you just told me in the body of your essay. Okay, the most important, crucial part of your conclusion is to answer the so what question. Okay, this means, so what partisanship is valuable? So what enemy theory is a good or bad explanation for crime in capitalist countries? Why should I care? Okay, so at the end of your essay, you need to ask yourself the so what question. Why should I care about what you've told me? Okay, now I don't care what you argue here, but you have to address this question in some way. Okay, now if you guys have questions about any of this, email me. Now, marking. Okay, you are marked on 4 things. You are marked on your spelling and grammar. Okay, so if every second word is spelled wrong or you have terrible grammar, I will be correcting that throughout your paper and your grade will reflect that. Okay, typos count as spelling and grammar mistakes as well. You get marks for your critical analysis. Okay, this is where you're talking about the readings. This is me basically it's not about whether I agree with your argument or not, it's about how strong your argument is. So here I'm going to be considering things like, how well did you engage with readings? Did you use the readings? Did you understand them? How strong was your argument? Okay, was it weak? Okay, did it need more expansion? Now on your papers, I'm going to be correcting things. I'm going to be writing notes in the margins, so don't be afraid. If your paper has a lot of red marks on it, that doesn't necessarily mean that you did badly. I'm just trying to give you guys as much feedback as I can. Okay, so your critical analysis gives you marks as well. Your effort as well. So here I'm considering things like, did they really think about this? Did they really try hard? Did they read all the readings and try to engage with them even if their critical analysis was weak? I can tell if you wrote this in a day, I can tell that if you stayed up all night to finish this, so that's where that is going to be reflected in your effort. And also in your spelling and grammar if you didn't do a spell check. Okay, and then you also get marks for references. Okay, your references count for the least. I highly recommend that you practice APA in this paper because it's a low stakes way for you guys to learn. So if you try and cite properly and you still make mistakes, it's really not going to dock you a lot of marks. But it's a good opportunity for you to learn so that in upper division classes, when you have papers that will have APA worth a significant amount of marks, like 10 marks or so on a paper, which can work out to about like 3 letter grades or whatever, you guys actually understand it and you can get those grades and those easy marks. Okay, so please really try on your references. Now you'll get marks deducted if your paper is late. Okay, so late papers get deducted 10%, which is 2 marks out of 20 per 24 hours that they are late. Okay, this is if you do not have an excused or let's say extension on your paper. Okay, I cannot grant you an extension. You have to get an extension granted from Barry. So please email Barry and not me if you know that you're not going to be able to hand in your paper on time. Excused absences would include things like family emergencies, big like illnesses, you're suddenly in the hospital, you got into a car accident, these kinds of things. Okay, but if you do not have an extension, 10%, so 2 marks out of 20, will be deducted for every 24 hours that it is late. Okay, I believe in his instructions he talks about weekends. I think weekends count, Saturday counts as 1 day and Sunday counts as 1 day. But you get this 2 marks deducted from your score. So let's say, for example, I mark your paper and you get 18 out of 20. But you handed in your paper 4 days late. I have to deduct 8 marks from your score of 18 out of 20. So you would actually get 10 out of 20. Okay, so that's how those deductions work. Deductions for plagiarism, please don't plagiarize. Cite anything that's not your own original idea. If you're confused about that, email me. If I think you've plagiarized your entire paper, I will send your paper to Barry and you will be penalized and it will be investigated, so don't do it. Accidental plagiarism, please do not accidentally plagiarize. This means like research and figure out what plagiarism is and understand it. So common examples: forgetting to use quotation marks or not putting a page number in a direct quotation. Okay, or not citing in text at all for an idea, even a paraphrased idea that's not your own. Okay, so please don't do this. Okay, this is easy. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay. You can not only get an F on this paper if you plagiarize, but you can also get reprimanded by the school, and it shows up on your official transcript. So don't do it. Cool. That's basically it. If you guys want, I'm free all day. Monday, March, what is it? 8, 9, 10, 11th. Okay. For appointments. So email me if you want an appointment. You can bring an outline, and I'll go over it with you. I will also give you 30 minutes or up to 30 minutes for your appointment. Okay, so I will go over your outline with you in detail. If you have questions about citations, anything in here that you didn't understand, you guys can go over that with me in your appointment as well. If you want to see your midterm and you want to go over your midterm, that's fine. You can make an appointment to see me either on Monday or any day next week. That's fine. Just tell me. So that I can bring your exam with me. And if you're going to come and see your midterm in office hours, you need to tell me in advance. Okay? All right, so I hope this has helped you guys. Good luck, and email me if you guys have questions. My email, you should have it by now, but it's erchatma@sfu.ca. Okay, good luck. I hope this goes well.